se llevó ante la opinión pública, nacional e internacional.
Public opinion, both national and international, was that Colombia is in post-conflict, that the war was over, that there were only marginal terrorist groups remaining that were harming the state, but that the state was not responsible.
Al Estado, pero que el Estado no era responsable. Esta situación ha generado.
This situation generated, in some sectors, the idea that Colombia has changed. And there is a new use of the language that suggests that the situation in the country is more moderate. I have a different opinion.
San José, pueblo querido, con gente de gran valor, nos queremos como hermanos y luchamos con amor. Nos queremos como hermanos y luchamos con amor. La opresión y la injusticia no llegaron por montón y perdimos mucha gente de pujanza y galardón.
Digamos, en nuestro país la situación de derechos humanos.
In our country, the human rights situation is getting increasingly worse. We don't know how far it will go, it just gets more difficult. Our country suffered a very strong paramilitarization,
Una paramilitarización muy fuerte, donde
where the political, social and economic structures were permeated and managed by paramilitarism.
y manejadas por el paramilitarismo. El paramilitarismo
Paramilitarism is a way of life where power is above life, and therefore it exterminates life in many ways.
y por lo tanto se extermina la vida de diversas formas.
In the same respect, all forms of resistance have to be extinguished. The resistance of the civil communities is extinguished, human rights activists are threatened and murdered, there is a total control over society.
El control social es total, entonces hay que llamar.
There is something which they call cleaning, which means to kill everybody who does not fit in their scheme. Therefore, if somebody is stealing, they have to kill him. If someone is taking drugs, they have to kill him, even though they are the main producers and the ones who create the whole problem of narco-traffic.
Los que generan todo el problema del narcotráfico. El problema del paramilitarismo
The
es
problem of paramilitarism is so strong because of its development, but most important is that it was a project developed by the state.
un proyecto, un desarrollo del Estado. Digamos eso
This is the most terrifying thing about the armed conflict that we experience in this country.
que se vive en el país.
Unfortunately, the communities in our country have been attacked a lot. Under the government of President Álvaro Uribe, they tried to annihilate them in every way.
De todas las formas.
En esta comunidad de San José de Apartadó hay gente buena, pero algunos de sus líderes, patrocinadores y defensores están seriamente señalados por personas que han residido allí de auxiliar a las FARC y de querer utilizar a la comunidad para proteger a esta organización terrorista.
Asesinando.
Murdering them, stigmatizing them, blocking them, chasing them. They pursued them so that they could annihilate them.
Probablemente las
Certainly the communities have suffered enough.
bastante.
El ejército colombiano, a través de la.
The Colombian army, with the 17th Brigade, together with the paramilitaries, with the help of multinational corporations like Chiquita Brands, Coca-Cola, the banana bosses, politicians, parts of the church.
De sectores de la iglesia crearon un acuerdo para
all united to stop the political opposition in the Urubá region, especially the Unión Patriótica and the right of the farmers to protect their land.
Y el derecho de los campesinos a defender la tierra.
The institutions have always been afraid of the community and have a certain apprehension of the community because it is one of the communities that most insists in filing complaints and demanding justice.
En las denuncias y en la exigencia de justicia.
When we signed the declaration, with the displacements that were constantly happening, the social fabric was destroyed. The schools, the health center, all the agricultural development. We can say at the time all the farmers were self-sufficient. The state destroyed all this. So we had to create another way of living where we were, really against the war and against death. That's why the only way was to live in a community. If you live in a community, you have different ways of relating to each other, of organizing, of participation, of solidarity, where everyone cares about the life of the other. The logic of the system of death, of the paramilitaries, of the state is to displace the people. They want to terrorize the people because it generates an individualism so strong that then you don't care about the life of the other anymore, right? For sure, it's tough when one gets killed, but there is a tougher way to die. That is when I no longer care about the other. That death is harder, and I think this is what the system created.
Hemos llegado al primer punto de arranque de nuestra peregrinación. Nos encontramos 4 comunidades, los que vienen de San José de Apartadó, los que vienen de Córdoba, la comunidad de Tamera y los amigos de Tamera y el movimiento popular regional de Facatativá.
People are coming from many different countries and we are building and creating a model for peace in Portugal. El grupo europeo viene de muchos países y estamos muy concentrados en un grupo que está creando un modelo para la paz. And we are doing pilgrimages in many different countries and also in crisis areas. Y hacemos peregrinaciones en muchas diferentes áreas, sobre todo en áreas de crisis. Because we think that no one of us can follow the governments anymore, but that we have to create systems of peace, globalization for peace. Porque creemos que ya nadie de nosotros puede simplemente seguir los órdenes de un gobierno, pero que tenemos que generar sistemas para la paz.
We call the pilgrimage grace, and this reminds ourselves always that we are going in service of life.
We got in contact the first time in 2002, I think, when we heard from Gloria Cuartas as a mayor of peace in Apartadó. And the aim of this pilgrimage specifically for me was to create public awareness for the peace community San José de Apartadó, for their courage, for their heart, for their real engagement for life.
Entonces, compañeros, como les venía diciendo, una de las actividades que vamos a tener, aparte de conocernos entre las comunidades que estamos acá, es ir a la Virgen de la Roca. Entonces, los invito a que podamos crear, organizarnos en unos grupos más o menos de 20 personas y alguien del movimiento popular nos va a acompañar a la comunidad.
El sitio que vamos a visitar es el grupo de familias que viven muy pobremente, viven del reciclaje, y el 8 de mayo de 2009 un helicóptero de la Fuerza Aérea lanzó combustible e incendió los sitios donde ellas dormían, y estas dos niñas fueron incineradas. El 8 de mayo del año pasado estaban durmiendo la mayoría de ellos cuando un helicóptero dejó caer un combustible y quemó las casitas que estaban acá.
Todas las casitas se las quemaron, todas. Quemaron 2 niñas.
La ley de FACA no ha hecho nada por nosotros. No nos ayudó con nada.
Y en esos meses siguientes contabilizamos más o menos 15 agresiones de la policía o de grupos paramilitares tratando de llenarlos de miedo para que se fueran de acá.
I see the next 10 days as a common study time.
Estos próximos 10 días los veo como un espacio de estudio común entre todos nosotros.
What is peace about?
¿De qué se trata la paz?
Because if we want to be warriors for peace,
porque si queremos ser guerreros de paz,
without weapons,
sin armas,
we must be much better than all the soldiers and all the military and all what is surrounding us.
Tenemos que ser mucho mejores que todos los soldados y militares que están alrededor nuestro.
And I think the strongest source is to build community.
Y creo que la fuente más fuerte que existe es la creación de comunidades.
And the biggest wound in the humanity is that people lost to know how to build community.
Y creo que la mayor herida que tiene la humanidad es que hemos desaprendido a vivir en comunidad.
And so a pilgrimage for me is always that we learn to bear witness what is inside of us.
Así que una peregrinación siempre es que aprendamos a ser testigos de lo que está dentro de nosotros.
And that we always only can reach peace in the outer world.
Y que siempre solo podremos alcanzar la paz en el exterior
if we find it inside of us.
Cuando la encontremos dentro de nosotros.
Then we went to Fontibon. It's the gate of Bogota in a way, and we were received there in a quite nice place in a school. They received us very well.
And we say thank you very much for hosting us.
Y decimos muchas gracias por recibirnos.
Me va a perdonar todos, no diga eso, un aplauso para lo que hace. Lo mismo que yo dije esa primera vez, trabajar por la paz de nuestro país no tiene precio.
And we were called to come to a marketplace to have speeches there. And then the peace community had the possibility to speak of their situation, which here in this surrounding is not known. People think they are terrorists. They don't know that they really live without any weapons in a very difficult situation.
Masacres, muertes selectivas, desapariciones, bloqueos económicos, violaciones de algunas de nuestras mujeres por parte de la fuerza pública. Tenemos 186 muertos. Más de 160 han sido cometidos por la fuerza pública en unión con los paramilitares. Las otras muertes han sido cometidas por los grupos guerrilleros que operan en la zona.
Un cordial saludo a la comunidad de paz de San José de Apartadó, con quienes hemos compartido experiencias de lucha, de resistencia y sobre todo de esperanzas y sueños de seguir viviendo y de seguir apostándole a la paz. Mi nombre es Daniel Maestre y pertenezco al pueblo indígena Cancuamo, que se encuentra ubicado en la parte norte de Colombia, en la parte suroriental de la Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta. Y al igual que la comunidad de paz de San José de Apartadó, en los últimos 20 años hemos sufrido el ataque indiscriminado de la violencia generalizada que hay en Colombia. Más de 300 cancuamos asesinados en los últimos 20 años, así lo testifican. Y agradecemos también a los compañeros que se han metido en esta ardua tarea de trabajar un proceso de paz a nivel mundial, porque hoy lo necesitamos. Tenemos que apoyar los procesos de paz que hoy se están generando en todo el país, apoyar los procesos de paz que hay también en Bogotá. Y sobre todo tenemos que aprender a ser solidarios.
Es que yo me gozo aquí. Por eso no dije nada.
¿Entiendes? Sí, ok, bastante.
Then we arrived at the Fiscalia. This is the place where the people can ask for justice in this country, but the people of the peace community never were really heard there. They were always refused. And so for them it was very important that we were able to come until the place, that we could stand there, and for the peace community it was a success.
Nos encontramos en este momento frente a la Fiscalía General de la Nación. Es el organismo que inicia las investigaciones penales por los crímenes que se cometen en Colombia. Hemos traído la memoria de todas nuestras víctimas porque estamos convencidos de que ha sido responsabilidad de la Fiscalía dejar que se cometan todos estos crímenes.
We are walking in the name of a free earth. We know that the whole humanity needs changes if the planet Earth wants to survive, or if humanity wants to survive. And we have to remind ourselves how we can live in a non-violent way, humanity in transparency, truth, compassion and solidarity. We know the peace community since many years now. We faced their suffering, we faced their pain, and we noticed how many lies were told about them, especially that they are cooperating with the guerrilla. We lived enough days with them to know that all this is not true.
Mulatos que he pasado fue escenario de crueldad, ahora comienza a florecer una aldea de paz global. La muerte semilla de vida plantó, los jóvenes la retoman, transformando a guerra en amor. Cantamos lá.
Queremos decirle al Estado, usted está violando la Constitución. Lo que nosotros estamos haciendo es legitimando el Estado, no atacándolo. Estamos también hermanados con otras comunidades a nivel nacional y a otras comunidades que también están resistiendo, para que entre todos diseñar nuestro propio proyecto de vida. Esto es la Universidad de la Resistencia.
Justice in the country is rotten to the core. It's been in the service of death, serving the interests of the paramilitaries and against the victims. So that one day we can really have a bit of coexistence, of peace. There has to be justice in our country, and there has to be justice in the whole world.
The next morning we went to the office of the Vice President. We had to wait until the morning whether we have a yes or a no. And the Padre asked for this meeting already in the beginning of October. And we were standing in front of the office, and after a while they welcomed us.
¿Dónde están? Vamos entrando uno.
No nos recibió el vicepresidente, sino uno de sus asesores. Le hicimos entrega de un derecho de petición que se radicó esta tarde dirigido al presidente Santos y en el cual le pedimos fundamentalmente que tome posición frente a la comunidad que ha sufrido casi 1 millar de crímenes de lesa humanidad. Y sobre todo le pedimos que responda las preguntas o las peticiones que jamás quiso responder el gobierno del presidente Uribe sobre las condiciones que la comunidad ha puesto para volver a sentarse en una mesa de diálogo con el gobierno. La comunidad le dijo claramente que esta era una constancia que queríamos dejar con un cierto pesimismo por todo lo que ha vivido la comunidad.
Good morning.
Yo tengo la esperanza.
I have the hope that the peace community will be respected, that their rights will be recognized. I have the hope that there will be justice. And I feel that there is a heartbeat in the heart of the world. And this heart of the world is the youth.
I was part of the youth group, and we were here with our theater piece, The Black Shadow and the Riddle of the Princess. And we did like a small theater tour. And this was also my focus in the pilgrimage, also to integrate the youth of San Jose with this theater piece.
Vente con nosotros, nos tienes que ayudar.
Un castillo medieval. Es la víspera de la boda de la princesa.
Ay, nuestra hija. Todo mi orgullo.
Sí, nuestra hija. ¿Cómo? ¿No hay champán?
¡Parad! ¡Que lo dejen! Pero, ¿qué tienes? Aquí lo tenemos tan bonito y tan pacífico. ¿No es verdad?
Tú lo dices, mi querida.
Chocó. Nuevamente han destruido miles de hectáreas de floresta tropical para obtener aceite de palma. Campesinos e indígenas fueron desplazados a los barrios marginales de las grandes ciudades.
¡Insolencia! Que nos dejen en paz.
¿Será, a fin de cuentas, que haya otro mundo ahí afuera?
With the theatre, we change the world. We notice the reactions of the people as they watch us acting the situation that is happening in the world. The main issues for every person are.
Todo eso para que las personas vean.
So that they, through our energy, can open their eyes and hearts to see it.
Y abrirlos más sus corazones y sus mentes para verlo.
Das war richtig super. Muy bueno. Sie ist lauter geworden, ne?
We are facilitators for young people to express their political heart into the world.
And the other thing what was very, very important was the connection between our youth and the youth of Colombia. For me, that was the main hope carrier. As the Teatro da Esperanza is the theater of hope, that was for me one clear fulfillment of the vision of this work we are doing.
Every time we played the theater piece, it was stronger because we integrated more from the youth of San Jose. And I really knew I was sitting there listening to this young woman who was telling her own story, or the story of her parents or grandparents.
Los cuales me han contado, de los cuales me han contado, también a ustedes. Le pido a todos los dioses, de los cuales me han contado, también a ustedes. Si tienen alguna posibilidad, ayúdennos.
And she has such a power with it because she knows this is what happens to me and I want to tell it to everyone so they know what happened. And this was just amazing. And I was really thankful for this because I know if they tell it, also we reach more people.
Llegaron los grupos armados.
They saw the piece once or twice and they totally said, I want to play it. Because they want to show what is their life. And then we had a bus drive of twice 2 hours. And in the first 2 hours, they learned all their text. And then we had one day to really practice with them. And afterwards, we performed.
There was never an hesitation. For me, it felt more like they were so looking for a channel where they can express their political heart and their compassion.
Soy un niño soldado. Si pudiera tener un deseo, sería de librarme del fusil y volver a encontrar mi madre. Pero esto no lo debe saber nadie.
It's often like really an awakening call for me to see that they live in such a situation which is much more difficult than our situation, and that still they continue with their life track, with their idea of the community.
Just everyone has to know there will be the point where there will be peace on earth, and there will be the point where the whole world will be one community of peace, and I'm already now thankful for this. Yes.
Pero hay otra parte de la ciudad que le recuerda.
Here is the other part of the city that reminds the Colombian state that the war is here, the suffering is here, the effect of the economic model, the effect of the violencia, the effect of everything that happened in the last 50 years in Colombia. You can see it in the townships that are in their daily lives, struggling to live.
Con pequeñas experiencias luchando por vivir.
We had a very, very intense next day when we left Bosa, and we had the walk up to Ciudad Bolivar. And there we came to the most poor parts of Bogota. People who are living in this area, they have mostly no own water, they don't have electricity, and many people dare to steal it, and many people lost their life by doing this. So we heard a lot of really strong stories in this area. And there is also paramilitary, and we had to figure out a way that we are secure, that we are going in a good line. We passed also at a prison and a big police station. There was nothing happening, but the situation is very tough.
Que salió.
Me and the Padre and Edouard and some of the carrier group of the peace community went to Bogota, where there was a big demonstration. Because 25 years ago, a guerrilla group occupied the Palace of Justice, and then the army stormed the building. And there were killed many, many people, and many are still not found. One doesn't know whether they disappeared, whether they are killed.
Esto es el Palacio de Justicia.
¿Cómo es el palacio?
Y el ejército entró y después se tomó el palacio a sangre y fuego. Como entró disparando, se incendió el Palacio de Justicia, mataron un montón de gente y dentro de ellos magistrados, jueces y desaparecieron 11 personas que trabajaban en el Palacio de Justicia. Hasta hoy, 25 años después, no se sabe nada de ellos. Pero sí se sabe que el Estado, el ejército los sacó con vida.
And we met impressive people. For example, I did meet a father who lost his son 6 years ago. He was killed. And the father told us that since this time he never left one day without fighting for justice and truth. And he described how he had to change from hatred and anger to a point of peace. And one could really see how in his face you could see the shining light and his power for going for a real solution for peace. We left then in the next morning, a bit chaotic, until we had the buses organized. We had 6 buses to go up to Suma Pass. And now here you can see in this area how beautiful, beautiful Colombia is. And it's crazy that normally people can't go out far because in the mountains there are hidden people from military or guerrilla and many fights are happening here.
Es una necesidad del poder estar aquí y no en vano venir aquí. Sería diferente que la comunidad, que todos los peregrinos, la gente internacional, la gente que acompaña a la comunidad de paz, hubiéramos estado aquí más bien en son de turismo y no como en son de protesta, de exigencia al Estado, de exigencia a todas las instituciones estatales de que respeten nuestros derechos, de que respeten nuestro derecho a vivir, nuestro derecho a sobrevivir, nuestro derecho a la vivienda y el derecho a la tierra.
We are here to remind ourselves to be caretakers for this planet.
Estamos aquí para acordarnos de que estamos aquí para cuidar al planeta.
We are here to remind ourselves again that we can take care for Mother Earth.
Estamos aquí para recordarnos de que estamos aquí para cuidar a la Madre Tierra.
Ahora que estamos en el Suma Paz.
Now we are in Suma Paz, a very important place for the world. It is the biggest páramo in the world. Here, the farmers struggle to protect their land so that it does not become privatized.
Que no se privatice.
This area has great history of resistance. The agricultural union, the social movement, the women's movement, actions of the left on the political level.
De la izquierda, a nivel político.
Here, in this area.
We were invited of some campesinos. They had a festival there, a meeting, and we were at once invited to the stage to speak, to represent our work. And after 2 hours we had to leave, because normally you don't drive in the darkness in this area. Nevertheless, it became dark and we were once stopped from a soldier. One of the public organization here was in front of all the buses. We were 6 buses. We were stopped. And then after a while they said, yes, everything okay, you can pass. And I could see the soldier, how he went behind the bushes and he waited until he was disappeared, and then he came back and stopped the next bus. So thank God we noticed this and we stayed, and people from FOR and PBI went there and spoke with them, and then again we had the good luck and we could pass. I always feel the responsibility to find the best thoughts I'm able to. And this is like a protection. It's like I feel it like a light which is always connecting you with your aim and what is giving you the energy of grace and of power. And so if I meet a soldier or a policeman, I never react with anger. I always stand in front of them very clear, very precise, telling them what we don't want. And it's always this feeling from my heart, sending energy of light to his heart to touch him. And it's impressing how much this works, because there is always one person and you want to meet this person.
¿Cuál es la profundidad de la comunidad? El Estado, los paramilitares dicen, les hemos hecho de todo y nunca los hemos podido destruir. Y hasta ellos dicen, ¿qué más podemos hacerle? Pero la ceguera de los que son asesinos les lleva a ver de que nos pueden hacer lo que quieran. Pero mientras el dolor se vuelva esperanza, siempre habrá comunidad. No puede destruirse. ¿Y qué es la esperanza? La esperanza es cuando ya no odiamos al asesino. La esperanza es cuando construimos colectivamente, cuando la vida la hacemos realidad hoy y donde estamos. Hace 14 años hablamos de cambiar el mundo. Hoy decimos que hemos cambiado el mundo porque hemos sido comunidad.
Hemos reunido después de 9 días de estar caminando para celebrar el Día de Gracia. Estos 9 días hemos caminado y hemos podido avanzar mucho más en comprender y en sentir y vivir lo que es la dignidad. Porque la vida es el respeto al otro, el respeto a la naturaleza, y eso conduce indudablemente a la comunidad.
The 9th of November is a day of pain, but it's also a day of hope. So, for example, in Germany on the 9th of November, there was opened the wall. We are working to open all walls. We are working to connect the inner peace with the outer peace.
En nombre de todo aquello que tiene piel o pelaje, en nombre de todos los seres, y en nombre de gracia y del movimiento por una tierra libre.
La mejor forma de poder sanar las heridas de todos nuestros familiares y todas las personas que han muerto, igual que la tierra que se sigue quejando, es reconstruir nuestro sueño de vida.
Madre tierra, yo te alabo, madre tierra, porque eres el origen de la vida. Madre tierra, yo te alabo, madre tierra, porque eres el origen de la vida. En tus selvas, tus montañas, donde habita el Espíritu Divino. En tus selvas, tus montañas, donde habita el Espíritu Divino.
The earth is our Mother Earth, and we have to honor her and live in cooperation with her and not just taking from her whatever we want.
If you regain the knowledge of living together in circles where there is transparency, where every being feels protected, where every being has the possibility to have a surrounding where you can live in contact.
So we have to create alternatives, models where we learn again how do we live in peace, how we create trust among humans. Trust is a very essential word for a new life or a new way of living on this planet. And I know life is stronger than the system we created.
The imagination that our world would be completely destroyed, I can't imagine this. It's not possible.
Yo creo que el mensaje es... I think the message is that we must stay united, because it's very difficult to get up every morning and to stay coherent in building a different world. There are so many things that attack us, so many ways of being discouraged. I think the message for everyone is that even if the resistance is getting smaller and many people get tired, it is up to all of us to help each other to carry on, to walk together through all difficulties. I think this is the main message. It doesn't matter how many we are. What matters is that we really know and deeply live a different world. And we will not build this different world tomorrow or in the past or something. We do it now.
Yo le hablo a las mujeres.
I want to speak to the women.
Las mujeres indígenas.
The indigenous women. The Afro women. The working class women. The intellectual women in academia. The women working for peace in so many areas.
O sea, es... Ayer decía...
You know, it is... Yesterday, our companion from Palestine said...
Que el agua que sale de los...
The water that comes from the eyes is a force of life that we feel, that moves us.
Que sentimos, que nos conmovemos.
That we have to take care of, because if we don't let ourselves be moved anymore, if we don't allow ourselves to be touched by what is happening in any part of this planet, in the Sahara, if we don't feel touched by what is happening in Israel and Palestine, in Africa, or the struggle of the Native American people, or the struggles in Europe, the struggle for recovery that the German people are still doing, or the struggle of the indigenous people in Chile.
Pueblo alemanace, o las luchas que se están haciendo con los indígenas en Chile. Y ahí, en todas esas luchas,
and in all these struggles, there are women, a lot of women. A lot of women not only giving themselves, but also giving their heart.
sino su crianza del corazón. Cuidando.
And they are caring and caring, embracing, giving ideas, making what they do a political cause for peace, for nonviolence.
Por la no violencia.
I want to speak to all these women in the world, to all, to the ones that think different than I do, to the ones that are different from me, to all. I want to say that step by step, we will always come together, because every time when there is healing, when the pain in Africa gets healed, the pain in America is healed. When the pain in the Sahara is healed, the pain in Europe heals.
El dolor en Europa. Entonces,
and so, here we are, on the way.
Gloria al sendero de paz, que abrió la luz brillante de la neutralidad. Vamos todos apoyados del uno con el otro, rescatando los valores de gran civilidad. Vamos todos adelante, con cariño y mucho amor, con los suyos y los nuestros, y toda la humanidad. Vamos todos adelante, con cariño y mucho amor, con los suyos y los